just trying to beat the odds. I'm just trying to beat the odds. Yeah.
Awesome, man. So we talked about this a little bit over the phone the other day, or at least texting. What I really like about our company is how they rank, teams and businesses based off performances. I mean, everybody's based off performance, especially men. We're based off, strength of men is what can you provide, what can you protect, what's your potential. And so I feel like, men are always judged a little bit differently than women and kids. But within our company, I was going through the leadership countdown, um, the leaders board. I was kind of going through, and I saw Nick and a couple of guys, but then I saw you and Sarah up towards the top, and you guys have only been in business what, 3 years?
Yeah, full time in 2022. So going on close to 3 years.
Yeah, so 2 3 years, and you guys, that's unbelievable. But that's just remarkable to me because I know with over 50 to 60,000 licensed agents in US, Canada, and Puerto Rico, and you guys are up towards the top with your agency and the business that you guys are doing. You're helping a lot of families. You're growing really quick. What are some tips or tricks or leadership skills that you've learned or have always had that you feel like has helped you guys along the way when you guys are building this business?
Yeah, so man, it's a blessing. We're humbled for sure, but I mean, I think leadership, as you know, it's everything. And one of the things that we've really prided ourselves on is like you can either be right or you can have a team. Right? Like, you can have it your way, you can have your cake and eat it too, and be the know-it-all, or be the person in front, and try to be right all the time. But we've learned, like, man, your team, at the end of the day, you can either be right or have a team. And so we really use that philosophy, and that's attributed to a lot of our success, but also like really the foundation of our leadership. We use obviously scripture and wisdom and the Bible as a guide for just our faith first and foremost, but also how do we lead effectively, and how are we leading with integrity, right? Because I think a lot of people, they build a business or they do something, and the foundation really isn't built on, just good ground. And so I think for us, like, we want to build it big, but we want to build it right. And,
Absolutely.
and as a leader, you have to be a do it first leader. Like, you have to go pave the way. You got to show that it works. You got to show that you're willing to do everything that it takes. Like, I'm not ever going to tell you, Trey, like, let's say you're on my team. I'm not going to tell you to go do something if I haven't done it already, or if I'm not currently doing that myself. Right.
Right.
And so there's a big difference between a manager and a leader, right? There's a big difference between a boss and a leader. And I think, for us, we really try to embody that, where it's not me micromanaging and telling you what to do and, knock this out and blah, 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 but it's more of like, guiding and showing and being patient, like all the things that goes into that. But it really is like we're either right or we'll have a team, and it's very lonely when you're right. And we kind of talk about relationships with marriage or whatever. But as a leader, I just think some of those key tips there, as far as just culture and camaraderie and respect and integrity and just having core values. And we go over this every single week with our team. We do like a code of honor, and what are our core values? What are some of the
Love
things
that.
that set us apart? What makes us different? And how are we really, building our culture, building the future, building the brand, but also building relationships. We want to build it big, build it right. We want to do it with integrity. And I think, our teams responded to that very well, because I mean, it's the golden rule, right? You treat others how you want to be treated. And that's kind of our philosophy in leadership is, if I was in this situation, if I was in this situation, is that how I would want to be treated in that situation? And that's just what we always filter our decisions is, am I treating this person the way that I would want to be treated in this scenario? So those are just a few little leadership things that has attributed to our explosion, our consistency. And when that's another thing, consistency. Our team wants to see, day in and day out, like they're kind of looking for you to waver or falter to see if, there's any holes or if there's any cracks to kind of, they're always looking at you. And so it's being consistent day in and day out where they know exactly what they're going to get. And that's one of the things in baseball for me. Uh, my manager knew if he was going to put me in the lineup, he knew I was going to make the routine play. And he also knew I was going to get a couple of barrels and a couple of good, great at bats a game where you knew what you were going to get. And I think that's what scares a lot of people off, or they quit, or they move on, or they feel like they don't have that trust factor with a leader, and it wedges that gap. So I feel like consistency, it breeds trust, it breeds credibility, and it also breeds that, integrity factor of, what they say they're going to do, they're going to do it and not waver on it, not falter on it. And that's been big for us for sure.
Yeah, I agree with all that. And the what I really love about your guys' dynamic as well, and not a lot of people get to do this, especially when you're building a business, but you get to do it with your wife, right? So you bring certain attributes to the table. She brings her strengths to the table. How has that been navigating? Because you're both hungry. Got to know you guys over the last couple of years. You're both go-getters, get after it. You're hungry, still down to earth, great individuals, strong personality wise, both of you. How has that dynamic been building this business, not stepping on, you're going to step on each other's toes, but trying not to step on each other's toes and letting someone take the lead or, take a step back? How's that dynamic been, since you guys have, again, only 2 or 3 years in the company, but how has that been navigating that business and then also sleeping in the same bed at night? How do you differentiate the two and keep it separate and be successful in both?
Yeah, that's a loaded question, but I mean, we've had our ups and we've had our downs. We've definitely had to learn each other's strengths and weaknesses, and just really identifying like our roles and responsibilities and what does she really enjoy, what do I really enjoy. But I think the biggest thing is our communication. That was our word for 2024, was we want to make sure we just master communication with each other, the way that we respond, the way that we talk, the way that we listen, the way that we hear each other out. And we've just really worked on our communication. I mean, we've invested, a good amount of money with just like coaching and communication and just really working on our relationship. Because to be honest, we can't really lead a team if our house isn't in order, right? Like it's really hard to do that. And so we wanted to make sure this year, as we stepped into that next level of leadership, we wanted to make sure that me and her were on the same page, identifying those roles, what works well for her, what works well for me. I mean, there's been times where, I've double booked and I didn't look at her calendar, and,
I've been there.
there's things where it's like, there's little things along the road that, it happens, and, oversight or just annoying things that come up. But as far as just building together, that was really one of the things that inspired me the most to actually build a business with her. Because, man, there's so many people in America that, spouses, maybe they're a school teacher and then the other spouse is, I don't know, you works for UPS, right? It's like you got two separate careers, two separate jobs, and it's almost like they're going their separate ways in their own day. And one of the things that really attracted me of building a business with my spouse was we can actually like build something together and actually be together all the time and spend time with each other, even if we are grinding it out in business and we're strategizing and we're working hard and we're doing our thing. But at least we're doing it together. Like a lot of people, it results into that separation or, things on the job, and, they start growing apart, and that's no wonder 50% divorce rate. Right. And I know, you have your own experiences as well. But that was us. I mean, it could have just as easily been us, as far as just going our separate ways. But, and this business really helped us kind of merge our paths together, where I was really focused on baseball and other things, and she was like, focused on building a business, photography, things like that. And we were just really kind of going separate, but we were able to really come together, and kind of the business was the glue where it just helped us kind of fuse our likes, our goals, of course, our kids, just making more money, having more time freedom, getting more independent, not having to work for someone else, but get to be our own boss and make those decisions. So, but it's definitely been up and down. But this year we really focused on our communication with each other, and just really making sure me and her have some good time together, just
Yeah.
because that's important too. Making sure we have a date night once a week, doing some things like that. Netflix and chill, doing some things where it's just like we got to keep it fresh, keep it cool. We actually implemented like I don't know if she wants me sharing this, but here we are. We even do like what we call a bath down at the end of the night, where it's like we have like a jacuzzi tub. We just chill out, drink a glass of wine, just kind of settle down, get everything off, and just how are you feeling? What's going on? What are you excited about? Just really just connect at the end of the night. And that's really helped us, because we're nonstop 24/7, 4 kids, business, nonstop. But it's good just to kind of wind down. It's like wind down, but bath down both together. So that was just something that we implemented this year to just help us stay on track because things get super busy. But it's been a journey for sure. We're just getting started. So it's wild. And I know for you, man, I mean, the it's a little bit different on the other side for maybe someone who's independently building a business and kind of doing their own thing, kids, life, building a business. For you, I mean, this year has been very different for you, right? But as far as like the navigation of being away from the kids, doing some different things, uh, you've come on super strong as far as rebuilding and get kind of going from 0 to 100 really really quick. Like, what do you attribute maybe some of the leadership and the mindset around that, where some people they may just bow out or say never mind, and but what has it been like for you, kind of getting back, coming full force, and getting right back in the game again?
You know, a lot of I'm the type of person, not everybody's like this, right? I got buddies that are like this, and I'm sure people like this too. But a lot of people they want to know A to Z before they take that first step. I need to know how everything works. I need to know everything behind the scenes before I commit or do anything. Where me, if I get a feeling about something and I learn something and it doesn't have to be everything, and I decide to go, I take off. And that's what I think what Brian Arnold and I did really well in the beginning. Because, he's the fastest to ever hit SMD in the company, 3 months. I hit junior broker in 3 months. We took off. And it was literally like what we have now within the company, especially with what Nick Bosley has built for us with the agency, the trainings, the academies, the retreats, all this stuff. We didn't have that. We didn't have any of that. Zoom was around, but we didn't leverage that at all, which is looking back was nuts. Like, we would load up his car and my car, and we would drive to Nashville 2.5 hours for their Tuesday night BPMs. They could have just put it on Zoom, but we didn't do that. But so we're just driving back and forth because we just knew, hey, we just need to know enough to be dangerous. And then we took off. And what happened was, Caleb, was we were recruiting more people than what we knew what to do with, and we didn't have a system. And so in the beginning, we were taking off and we were training a lot of people, but we actually had a lot of holes, and a lot of people were falling through. And so Brian and I had to come together, and we said, hey man, we have to stop hiring and recruiting people because we don't have a system. And with our leadership, we had to take a step back and go, what are we doing as leaders? Because we're bringing people in, showing them the opportunity, what we do for families and businesses, and then how you can take care of your family and grow your own business. But we weren't leading people the right way. And so we put a halt on recruiting to say, hey, we need to build a system, because, the Bible talks about where there's the lack of vision, people will perish. And so we didn't have that. we could paint a little bit of a picture, but our to me, our leadership wasn't strong. And so we really had to work on our leadership skills and bringing people on, treating them like family and not business associates. And I think that's where a lot of people get in trouble in business is we treat everything as business, and eventually people become disposable if they're no longer meeting those needs. And so I think, like what you said, bringing the family aspect into this and the way that we view our team and our agency is like family. And so, because when you're bringing somebody in and you're, training with them, you're on meetings with them, you're doing their stuff, you get to know them on a personal level. Then we get to go and do retreats and we're in person together and we're around each other, for events. You really get to know people. And what I've learned is, everybody wants to get help. Everybody wants to succeed, but not everybody's willing to do the work. And you've seen that in sports, we've seen it in life. We've talked about it before about even with people's health. You can tell me you want to be healthy, you can tell me you want a six pack, you can tell me you want to lose 50 pounds, but if you're not doing daily actions to do that, it's just lip service. You don't really mean that. And so for me, strong leadership really took a turn. Brian kind of took the reins on that, and we just kind of followed in. And with Nick, a company with Nick's leadership, Kevin McGinnis's leadership, we were able to right the ship and say, hey, this is the next steps for what we were doing. But to me, leadership is taking care of your people like family, having a system so they can succeed. And what I love about our company too is we allow people to come in at their own pace, right, with no minimums or quotas, but they can come at their own pace and learn, because everybody's different. You're going to have, your rabbits, so to say, that take off. They get it. They understand it. They don't need a lot of coaching. They don't need a lot of motivation. They're self-disciplined and they take off. And you got other people you got to hold their hand, which is fine. Might take, your rabbit 6 months to accomplish. They might take a year and a half. But at the end of the day, to me, what I've learned in coming back is the relationship side of it. But it's also really easy as a leader too to get caught up in some rabbit holes or get stuck in the maze a little bit, and you're focusing on too much stuff and you're not focusing enough on money making skills or money making hours and maximizing that. Where coming back, I had success and failed and success, and so I knew coming back where to attack. And that's how we were able to go from 2 or 3 licensed agents to now we're up over 25, about 7-8 months or whatever it's been now, to where we got things back on track, and we're looking pretty good. We're pretty excited for 2025. I was telling Jackie, she's junior broker pushing to hit senior broker status. And I was like, hey, so this event we got coming up, Prosperity Bowl, those numbers are December to November. I said, so, because she's trying to make a big push by the end of the year. I'm like, still make a big push by the end of the year, but I need you to have that mindset. Like, we're going to come into this event under the radar, right? We're just starting to kind of back up. We're going to come under the radar, said, but this is 2025. Prosperity is what we have eyes on now. We're going to go there. People are going to go get their, you guys, you're going to get your recognition. You're going to get your awards, and rightfully so. You deserve it. And I'm going to be one of the biggest guys clapping for you guys because I love it. But dude, there's a bullet. I mean, there's a bullseye on the back of y'all's back. And I'm sitting there going, yeah, hey, this is awesome. And I'm looking at my team going, this is us next year. Like, let's get that push going.
Yeah.
And that's what I was checking out some of not only the leaders in the company, like Cash and some of those guys, but also within Nick's agency, where's our team within the company? And I love seeing, Nick towards the top, you guys, Jessica Foster, Silas Lagoy, Alexis, Brian. It's even Wheeler. It's really cool seeing our team up on the leaderboards. And it's just like, hey, that's what we're pushing for. And so I love the accountability that we have here too.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's been a crazy year just with the whole situation with starting a new company and all that mess and all the things that's been going on this year. And I think that's another thing about leadership, like, and you could probably speak to this, but there's a lot of different ways that could have been handled. And there was a lot of different ways that people could have responded. And I love the example that set, because I feel like every great leader was once a follower, right? Like, I mean, you can't be a leader unless you have an example in front of you that kind of paved the way and who you're learning from. Every mentor has a mentor,
Yep.
right? I mean, and every mentor is mentoring someone else. And in order to be a really good leader, you got to be a follower first. And so I think just with everything that went down this year specifically, and it could have been handled as a weak leader, as in not a good fashion. But I love how we've all like came together as a team, and I think that just speaks to all the leaders and just the qualities of that being in having integrity and doing that. But there's no doubt, bro, that you guys are gonna crush it this year and get right back up to where you guys can be. And I feel that target. Don't get me wrong. I feel it. We feel it every day because we know. I mean, and that's just we like it like that, though. I mean,
You want to be chased.
yeah, you like that feeling of like, okay, because it continues to push you as well. One of the greatest players ever to play baseball, Albert Pujols, right? One of a good family friend of ours. He talks about how every single year when he went into spring training, he knew that his job was his to lose, right? He has the job, but it was his to lose, and there's always these young guys coming in. Everyone's fighting for a roster spot, and it wasn't just a given that he's going to be the starting first baseman, in opening day. And that always has stuck with me where every single year you're coming out and it's a new year. It's fresh. You start at zero, right? Those numbers that you did before, every good company, you start at zero. And same thing for him. He's like, look, forget what I did last year. That's great. It got me to this point. But as far as I'm concerned, all the numbers are at zero, right?
Yep.
Zero average. There's zero home runs. There's zero RBIs. Every year is a new year. And without a doubt, man, I know this year is going to be amazing for all of us. But I think being a leader, you recognize that. Like you're reminding your team, you're reminding the people around you, like, hey guys, man, it was great what we did last year, but that doesn't really mean anything because now we're at a new year and this is what we're doing this year and a new vision. And I also heard something really cool that it takes a leader with vision to be able to lead people who have dreams. And one of the big things that most people falter on is their vision is too small or it's not big enough. And, it restricts a lot of people from maybe building big teams or companies or businesses, or maybe they limit themselves because, their vision is very small. And you have to have your vision big enough for everybody to fit inside of it. And I think one of the things you, that we do really well just as a whole as a company is give people a place to dream. Like we don't just sell the dream, like we help people dream again,
Yep.
right? Like that's the biggest thing. And for me, I know personally that I never in a million years would have thought that we'd be in the position we are in now. And I lost all hope. I lost dreams. I forgot what that felt like, and just really thankful for a collective unit of people, associations, and just leaders in my life and mentors. Like just super appreciative because in order to be a good leader, you got to be a good follower, and that goes to all the leaders that have gone before me. It's incredible, and I know there's probably some the leaders in your life. You mentioned Brian and Nick and all the people before you, but I think that's what really sets leaders apart is they recognize who went before them because a lot of people they can maybe get a good start, they get success, but then they kind of forget where they came from and they forget like to continue to fight for mentorship, fight for leadership, and they think they're God's gift to whatever it is that they're doing. And I think that's another trait of a great leader is they're always learning, they're always humble, they're always like hungry for more, they're always wanting to get better. And once you think you've arrived, you're done.
Yep.
At the end of the day, you're done. So, but let's talk a little bit about just some of the year. Let's do the year recap. I know you talked about going from like 2 to 25 and 7 or 8 months, but what are some of the highlights of the year just overall? Maybe with your kids and just life. What are some of the highlights? And then we can kind of maybe go into some of the challenges that we've overcome. But we'd love to hear the highlight reel of 2024. What's the highlight reel?
So on the family side of it, just watching my kids, I mean, and they're just, I know you got 4 kids, you get it. They're growing so fast. And I love the updates I get on my phone, of flashbacks and stories of things of where they were even last year. Like every year, I'm around the Knoxville, Chattanooga area, so I take the kids down to Atlanta for the botanical gardens lights for Christmas, which kind of made that a little um, trip every year. And a memory came up from like 3 years ago when I took them, and just seeing the growth, obviously not only physically, but their maturity, and they're still so young. It's just crazy. Time is a thief. It just, you blink and it's just snap of the fingers. And to me, it's very hard as a parent because especially in your late 20s, 30s, when you're having kids, raising kids, but you're also under the thumb of providing, making money, maintaining your marriage, trying to maintain your health, raise good kids, not spoiled little brats, give them attention. You're being pulled in so many different directions, and it really takes a toll. I know it takes a toll on women, but I mean, I can only speak on the men's side, but I always feel like a lot of the days I felt like even if I, you know, did what I could, I still feel like I wasn't good enough. I didn't do enough. Was I there for her? Did I give my kids enough attention, or did I help them enough here? Hey, they got in trouble. Did I overstep in yelling at them, or, disciplining them, whatever that's going to be. And, but in 2024, watching my kids grow, not only spiritually, we've gotten to have some really, really good talks, about salvation and Jesus and what that means, and the impact and the weight of that decision is. They've come a long, long way, and that's been a lot of fun to be able to have them be curious enough to ask questions to where you can share that and be honest with them. It's like, hey, I'm your dad. We look at our dads growing up. It's like, man, that guy's perfect. Like, he's my idol. He's so awesome. And I get a chance to, to be vulnerable with them. Say, hey guys, like, your dad makes mistakes. I get things wrong. But your heavenly father, he's perfect. And, that's what we get to strive for. But watch them grow spiritually has been really, really cool. Brooks is starting to get to that age where he still wants me around, but then there's times he's kind of like, hey, I want some space. And I don't know how I feel about that. I still like where the other one's like, hey dad, can I sit with you? Hey, I want to cuddle, watch TV, or hey, you want to throw with me and stuff. He's kind of trying to get some space. And I'm like, no, no, come back. We're not doing that yet. You're only 11. But that's been really cool. The getting back in business has also been really amazing. I love, Jackie Grunendijk has grown a lot in her business, not only in her business, but also as a leadership role and as an individual. She's gotten some really good people around her. So she's been able to grow and do some really good things. Like, there's a lot of high hope for her next year coming up in this 2025 season. But the development of the team, and even though coming back, knowing what I knew, pros and cons, good and bad, coming back and focus, you're still learning. And so there's always something new to pick up. And like what you said earlier, good leaders are, you're always learning. If you think you've arrived, I mean, that's to your own, fault, your own failure that's coming up, because your best leaders are always learning. If you step into a room and you're the best one there, you need a different room. Like, you should always be in rooms where people are doing better than you so that you can continue to learn. And, that's a lifelong lesson that I've had to learn because, I had that kind of mentality. It was like, hey, this is kind of like my peak coming in from baseball and stuff. It's like, hey, I know enough. I'm good. And I kind of stopped learning there for a couple of years after baseball, because I don't know about you, but I really struggled after baseball ended, because my identity was wrapped up in baseball. You asked me about, I'm a baseball player. That was my identity. I wasn't saved yet. And so when that day came and we were put out in the World Series and college is done, already graduated, you're done, you come home from the summer, you have your last meeting with the coaches, you go back home, and it's like, I just go to work now for the next 50 years of my life. Like, what is this? And I struggled. I remember, man, I had a breakdown one time. Not a breakdown, but I had a down season. I was talking to my dad because I was working with them with their furniture store, managing that and help them grow that before I got into this. And I asked him one day, I said, is this all there is? Is this all we do? I mean, it's just work, pay bills, die. Like I, my mind wasn't there. And this company, like you said, helped me dream again, helped me, get back into that mindset of what I did when I had in college when I was in baseball and competing in things. And so, this company saved me in a lot of ways other than just plugging me into a great company, getting to, learn better leadership skills and be a better man, be a better, father, be a better, guy overall. But this company's done a lot of good stuff for us. But no, the 2024 is a good year, kids. It's fun building that agency back up. And now once you kind of get to that point, it's like, hey, that's cute. You've built to that. Now what's the next level? I say this to people. I'm like, I remember before jumping into this company, I saw someone making around $250,000 a year. I'm like, man, you're crushing it. That's awesome. And then after being in this company like 3 to 6 months, and I'd see people kind of hit that, and I'm like, that's cute. Because your vision and your mindset is expanded, and you can see the abundance that's out there and the opportunity. When you look for it, it's all around us. And I just remember, I tell people, I'm like, oh, you just hit your 100,000. I'm like, that's cute, man. That's awesome. Okay, hey, nuts, good job. But before this company, yeah, I had more of a not closed minded, but like a smaller mindset. And this company's really helped do that. And 2024 is no different. I'm excited for 2025.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about that too, because there may be some people that have an okay mindset, but they still have like, the limit or the threshold of like, man, I'm making $80,000 a year, I'm making $100,000 a year. I feel comfortable. I'm okay. I feel like I have everything I need. I have, some of those things taken care of, but like, one of the things that I struggled with is you grow up hearing like when you make six figures, you're good. You're rich. You're
Big
wealthy.
time.
That's all there is. And my mindset has stretched so much because my relationship with money has changed now that I understand, number one, how money actually works. But then number two, how money is more than just like it's more than just a monetary thing that you obtain to actually pay things and pay bills and use it for yourself. But it's like it's bigger than that, where now you can actually do more for more people. And I think a lot of people, they stop themselves or halt themselves or limit themselves because they're like, oh, I'm taken care of. And to me, I think that's a little selfish, right? It's like, well, if you make just enough money for you, then what are you doing for other people? And,
Yep.
I feel like the reason that I always push really hard and really want to make as much as I can is so I can do more. Like I've always had that dream of like the phrase, hey, I got that for you. Like I've always
Yeah.
wanted to give, 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 give. And it's really hard when you're making just enough for yourself to give some things away, where it's like you only have enough for yourself. Well, what impact are you making? What are you doing? What resources are you bringing to the table? And I think just having the ability to make unlimited income and have the potential to do that, earn additional income to do some things that you're passionate about. I think that's been huge. And, we talked about being able to dream again. Like, what is that passion? What is that thing that you want to do? What is that nonprofit you want to open up? What are the big dreams and visions that God's kind of placed in you from when you're smaller, or just some of the things that you want to accomplish? But usually the biggest thing that holds people back from accomplishing that is what? Money.
Fine.
And so I think talking a little bit about the limit that we put on ourselves, where it's like, oh man, if I make $100,000, I'm good. That's all I need to make, or whatever your salary is. And I could go on and on about salary versus unlimited income and things like that. Because at the end of the day, I mean, you can only make so much when you're on salary. Like
Hmm.
you're capped. And so, one of the things that I always try to look at is, what are your goals and what are your passions and dreams? And if we can be able to actually make the money that you're trying to accomplish those dreams with, like, why not go do that? Why not, give it everything you got to go accomplish that? And so I think a lot of people, as they start out the new year, there's all these new year resolutions and all these, I'm going to do it this year and I'm going to do it. And I think just starting number one is make sure that you have a good relationship with money, because at the end
Yep.
of the day, if you don't have a good relationship with money, it doesn't matter if you have $1 million or you have $10,000. You're going to be in the same boat that you've always been in if you, number one, don't know how money works and you don't have a good relationship with it, or you don't know how to manage it or steward it or whatever. But I think starting there is super important. But you talked about how you're even instilling some of those things with your kids, like talking about spiritual and all those things, even talking about money. I mean, that's important. Yeah, that's one of the things that I try to do with my kids is teach them how to save, teach them how to, do some things with money. But also understanding that that's not like everything. Like money isn't everything. We need it. We got to have it, but it's not the end all be all,
Right.
especially if you're only getting it to obtain it for yourself, right?
Yep.
Like you want to be able to do more with that and to be able to have a resource, be more resourceful and do some things. So really, my mindset has changed so much this year, Trey, on why do we even make money? And I'll start with this. Number one is most people, they go to work to make money to pay their bills. What if we went to work not to obviously to make money, but not to pay our bills, but to be able to give? Like, what if we could change that mindset shift where now we're going to actually work harder, do more, have the right mindset, obviously be a cheerful giver in that, where it's like, what if we literally went to work to give and then let God take care of everything else? Rather than just go to work to pay bills and get in that scarcity mindset. That's another area too that we've really worked on, is having more of an abundance mindset rather than a scarcity, where it's like, oh man, if I don't make 10 grand this month, we're not paying our bills. Or if we don't make this amount of money, we're not paying our bills. And it's just like scarce, scarce, scarce. And we've really had to work on that abundance mindset to say, look, we're going to put in the work, we're going to put in the effort, we're going to put in the time. God's going to bless the work of our hands. We're going to give it up to him. We're going to give, we're going to tithe, we're going to do things. And teaching our kids that, right? Because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that they understand just the principles of, hard work, money, giving, how to be, how to have integrity, like all the values that we want all of our kids to have. But if you don't actually go lead the way first and do it, eh, your kids are going to kind of smell you out. So they'll figure it out at some point where you tell them, oh, you can accomplish all your dreams and you can be anything you want. You can do anything you want. And eventually they're going to ask like, okay, mom, dad, why aren't you doing it?
Exactly.
Right. And so that's, I bet you, I know you can relate to that, where it's like, I want to be, I'm talking about leadership. I want to be the do it first dad, do it first leader, where I'm showing not only the business and the people we're leading, but showing my kids like, man, look at what you can do. Look what you can accomplish. But I'm not going to tell you once again to do something if I'm not actually doing it, or if I don't, if I'm not taking the action for myself. So that's been that's been big for us this year too.
That's all. Yeah, that's a real that's a good one. And those are all great points. And you hit the nail on the head. Your kids are going to figure you out. You can only I don't like the word manipulate when I'm talking about this, but you can only say something so long. But if your actions don't back it up, they're gonna sniff it out, like you said. They're going to figure you out. And our kids, you hear people talk about, it's like, hey, oh, obesity runs in my family. It's like, no, it doesn't. Bad eating habits, not working out, not that runs in your family. Yes, genes play a part of it. I'm not getting into that, but there's other things being passed down, and you have to identify what we've learned, or quote unquote what we've been programmed by our family, our environment, our friends, teachers, parents. What have we been programmed, and then how does that stack up to where we want to go in life? When the kids, with four boys, you know not paying attention to last, a couple of years ago, not paying attention really to my health. And I was kind of, putting on weight and not working out or doing anything. And I look back and it's just like, you see other dads that are in shape or something like that. You know how the boys always have that concept, like, my dad would whoop your dad's. And I look at that stuff. It's like, man, I want my kids to be proud of me. Or they look at me and they go, man, that's one bad dude. Right. You don't want them looking at you like, oh yeah, that's my dad over there eating another box of Cheetos or whatever. But it's, what do
Hey,
you
Cheetos
want to
are good
be?
now. Come on now. Cheetos are
The
good.
cheese puffs. The cheese puffs are better than the Cheetos.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
No, I'm good. No, hey, when we go golfing, dude, I get a turn dog, a Coke, and some Cheetos. That's the go-to right there. But yeah, it's when you have kids, man, just it changes. It can. Having kids has an opportunity to change you if you allow it, because it's not just about you. And a lot of times when it is just about us, we can get lackadaisical. We can let things fall through the cracks. But when you start putting other people first, just like what you're talking about with making money. Hey, what if I went to make money, not just for me, but also to see how much I can give away? How many people can I impact? And our kids are going to be, the most important people that we impact in our lives. It's our job as, dads. For my boys, it is my responsibility to help raise strong, godly young men that grow up to do what they're supposed to do in society, with their future wives, with their future kids, and, leave that legacy. To me, legacy is very, very big. And a lot of people don't think of legacy until you start getting older in life. You start looking back at everything that you either regret not doing, not stepping up on. And so for me, the boys, especially in these, informative years, has really helped change my mindset for the better, as far as, man, you're not promised tomorrow. My brother says this all the time, be where your feet are. Get off your phones, have time for your family. Now, don't get me wrong, you can use your phone for good and bad. You can have your phone to make money. You can have your phone for connecting. There are good things for a phone, but there's also a lot of distractions with it too. And so it's making sure you're maximizing your time for your job, time for your wife, time for your kids, time for you. Um, and I think that just a lot of people have lost track of that. And to me, it's all mindset. Everything comes down, like you said earlier, leadership. To me, the biggest thing about leadership is your mindset. And that's what I love about sports, is it to me, sports has taught me how to be a good teammate. Because in a team, it's not all about me. I have a role to play, but it's not all about me. It's for the team. Family, it's not all about me. It's about the family. And so even like within business and even within leadership, it's not all about me. It's about the team. Because if I continue to win and win and take all the glory, take all the recognition, take all the awards, that what eventually is going to happen to my team? They don't want anything to do with me. Right. And so I try to do a really good job of listening of how people talk. And so what I mean by that is, when I'm listening to a leader and all I hear them say is, man, me, me, and it's not we or us, I'm going, man, that's not a leader. That's a boss. That's a manager. That's somebody that's only got them in mind. And I identify that really quick. Or if I hear someone like, oh yeah, man, I'm a leader. I do this, I do that. And it's like, man, a lion doesn't have to tell the jungle it's a lion. I'll know you by your fruit. I'll know you by who's following you, because that to me is a quality of a good leader. Who's following and, wanting to follow you in whatever you got going on. And so, and that comes to your family. I remember watching a video, and it was an older gentleman, probably in his 70s. And he said, what is success to you? And he thought about it for a minute and he goes, to me, success is that your grown up children want to be around you. And that hit me hard because I'm sitting there going, man, I mean, how true is that? Because I have friends growing up, with my family, my parents, we're very, tight knit, close. My brother, my sister, my parents, and as often as we can, we all get together and I want to be around them. But I've got friends that they're not around their parents, not because of distance, but because they live in the same town. They just don't care or want to. They don't have that relationship. And it was a long growing up. So, bumps in the road happen, but that I call it leadership, love. I don't know what it is, but it wasn't there. And to where I look back going, man, what if I accomplish all my business goals, but I sacrifice my kids' relationship in the moment? Was it worth it? Absolutely not. And so we have to find that balance of being successful, setting that example in leadership, but then also being that example and be for our kids and family and maximizing that. And I think as men, that's one of the hardest things to balance is work, family, your health. But it's like you can't you can't give both 100. It's impossible. And you're constantly being torn one way. Like if you're home all the time and you're with the family and all that, well, then you're not getting work done. You're all work and you're crushing work. You're not taking care of your family. And so it's a constant give and take and find that balance. And I think a lot of men struggle with that. And I know I had, and still do on some things where it's like, hey man, you got to find that balance. And if you don't know how to find that balance, that's where, hey, find a mentor, find someone, open up, as men, we weren't designed to do this life alone. I mean, it's very easy for guys to get out and be a lone wolf and not open up, not talk to other guys, and that kind of stuff. It's like, man, you need community because what you're going to find, what I have found is opening up and actually talking and getting real with other guys. It's like, hey, man, I'm not alone in some of the stuff that I feel, think, and have thought. And so that's been really big for me. Learning leadership and learning that stuff is getting around other like-minded guys and just, pulling each other up and helping each other.
Yeah. Yeah. Can't do it alone. And I think just that really kind of brings it full circle to like anything that we have. It's not because of us. It's not because of us as an individual. It's really because of the people that we have in our life that has been able to mold those things. And if you're successful, you're not alone in that. There's somebody along the way
Absolutely.
that came beside you, and iron sharpens iron, right? I mean, it's just you can't do it yourself. And I think just leadership comes down to those relationships that you build that are everlasting, and especially with family, friends, people that are in your life. And I've also noticed too, there's different phases of friendship where you have people that you maybe grew up with, and then you outgrow them, or they outgrow you, or go different ways. But you appreciate those relationships, but then you have those friends who you actually share a common future with. Those are going to be the people that you're sticking around in your associations and things like that. But I think we'll have on our next conversation associations and what it means to like have the right people around you in your life. And you show me your friends, I'll show you your life. You show me your habits, I'll show you your life. So habits and the associations and the people around you are key. But leadership's everything, man. And I think we have great examples of that all around us, especially if we're faith filled. Like obviously Jesus was the best leader that there ever was. And he gives
Amen.
great examples of laying down your life for a brother. And if you're not willing to give your life up for someone, then man, are you a great leader? I don't know. So just full sacrificial love. I think that's the best attribute you can have as a leader. But yeah, this has been awesome. Appreciate you opening up, being vulnerable, and I think a lot of people can relate as they try to grow in their leadership.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, I'm excited for next episode. I got some stuff that just popped into mind. I was going to save it. I was like, nah, I will save it for next week.
I'm just trying to be the